Okay, everybody, let's jump into this.
Made this hat from aluminum foil.
Okay. Let me explain, so you don't think I'm crazy, but there's points.
Yo, your mom's house is so much smaller this time.
Oh yeah, I got farther away, and it's like
Oh, you're going for perspective shit.
slightly crooked. Okay, so 2 times ago, I gave you this bonus question. You're all confused because you thought I was trying to trick you, but I wasn't really trying to trick you. But there is a point to what I was trying to teach you, and that point is hopefully going to come together today. So, I can't remember the numbers I used, but I said something along the lines that, like, to drive from the tree to my house is like 4 miles.
Yeah.
And then to drive from the tree to my mom's house is 6 miles, and then how many miles is it going to take to get from my house to my mom's house, and the answer is just 10. You just add them together. So there's actually a concept in thermodynamics that works very similarly, okay? Where there may be at times you don't know the heat change, the delta H, for an overall reaction. But you know the delta H's for these pieces, like a mechanism that can be combined to get the overall reaction. And so if we add those all together, then we can get the overall. And this is what is known as the process is Hess's law.
Oh yeah, this was some of the homework.
Yeah, you didn't have to do it yet.
6.8, 6. Oh, it's due on Canvas.
Oh, because last period learned it?
Oh. So I just Khan Academy'd it, you know?
Yeah, you want to teach today's lesson?
Well, I just figured out you just had to add everything on the side, so.
Pretty much.
That's how I took away from
The
what
difference
happened at
is,
work on
with the adding, is sometimes you might have to manipulate the equation, meaning flip it around or multiply it by certain factors so it works out. Okay, so these are the changes we are allowed to make with an equation and how it affects the delta H. And then we'll do some problems with it. Okay, so first off, enthalpy is an extensive property, meaning that the magnitude of delta H is directly proportional to how much reactant is consumed. So for example, if you double all the reactants, so here's like the equation as is, okay, if I double everything, then it's going to release twice as much the heat. Pretty much you put more logs on the fire, you're going to get a bigger fire, right? Heat is an extensive property. Okay? Another thing we can do to reaction is the direction. Okay, right up here, where the direction of it is they're equal in magnitude but just opposite in direction. So if you look at our equation backwards, the value stays the same, just now instead of being negative, it would be positive. Or vice versa, if a reaction is exothermic in one direction, it would be endothermic in the other direction. Right, so if you flip it around, it just changes the sign. And then lastly, you do have to be cautious with the states of our substances. Whether something is a solid, liquid, or gas can drastically change how much heat is released or absorbed in a chemical reaction. Okay, so let's take a look at this problem here. I'm like, actually, I'll leave it right there. Okay, so this is an example of how a Hess's law problem looks. Okay, they give you these individual reactions with their delta H's, and we want to find what is the delta H for this reaction. Now, the biggest thing with Hess's law that I encourage you to do is focus on what you need to keep, not what you need to get rid of. Meaning, focus on the goal reaction. We need to move those things around or change them so that they can match the goal. Okay, so what I do is I just take each piece of the reaction one by one and say, okay, the first thing I need is I need a carbon to be on the left side of the arrow. Okay, so I'm focusing on this. So I look up above at my 2 reactions and find carbon, which I see it's in the top reaction here. And it is on the left side of the arrow, so it's good as is. I'm just going to rewrite it down here so I can work with it better, but I'm not changing anything about it. Which means I don't change the delta H. Okay? The next piece I need in my puzzle is I need some oxygen, and I need oxygen to be on the left, which in this first reaction I have oxygen on the left, so I'm good, okay? So I'm keeping that as is. Once again, I'm ignoring all the other stuff, just one piece at a time. Okay, let's get another color. So now I need CO, but I need CO to be on the right side of the arrow. So I'm going to take the second equation where there's a CO and rewrite it flipped around. So it will be CO, and I say CO2. I always line up my arrows, keep that straight. So this would be CO plus 0.5 O2. The reason why this is here was to make that line up. Now, if needed, I could also multiply things. So like, let's say by chance, if there's like a 2 here, I could multiply by 2, but you have to do it to everything. Okay? Now, in this case, since I flipped the equation, that will flip the sign.
Ray didn't do the homework right.
Of the reaction. It's okay, that makes me feel good that I still have a job. So.
Yeah. Dang it,
Okay,
Sal.
now the way to check it before you add them together is by adding the equations. When you add the equations, you're going to cancel out things like a mechanism that appear on both sides of the arrow. So what do we see canceled here?
CO2.
Yes, so there's a CO2 here and a CO2 there, so cancel those.
O2.
O2 how much, Bryce?
0.5.
Yeah, so there's one O2 on the left, half an O2 on the right, so that will cancel away and I'll be left with half of an O2.
Wait, that's the, oh wow,
You just have a light bulb pop up.
fascinating.
So I carried down what stayed, and like Gavin did, does it match the goal?
Yeah, it does. That's amazing.
Now we can add them together.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I add those together, what do we get?
See, I'm,
110.
you see when I did it, wait, what?
Negative 110.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 109.
See, I just added that.
Yeah, it's 109. Because the 0.5 is negative, so it takes away one rather than. Oh, no.
Somebody have a calculator?
I'm right originally,
You read it first time.
so I'm half smart.
Congrats.
And then that, in a sense, is the answer. This is the heat change for this reaction. Questions so far?
Is that MO supposed to be an MO or is it supposed to be months?
Say it one more time, Bryce.
The MO in kilojoules per, is this?
Kilojoules per mole.
Per month.
Oh,
Oh, I thought you said, is that in MLA format? And I
What
was
is it?
so confused.
Yeah.
I was like, not this class too.
so the way that the way it's written, that's a good question. Okay, any other questions so far?
Just kidding, I ran the check back.
Is there a certain font all this has been written in?
Yeah, why isn't this in Times New
Yeah, what the
Roman?
heck? What font is this? I.
Bothering you? I don't know what font. I don't know.
She writes in Alviso font.
You're right.
It's just whatever font I use, I guess. I don't know.
We're just making fun of Emily font.
Yeah, stupid.
Oh, because you thought he said MLA.
Yeah.
Okay, try this practice problem with your table, buddy. Ready, set, go.
Okay.
So,
The arrows, they don't like the arrows up. Does anybody else know? That's so annoying.
Okay, so let's do
so
this.
this is the equation.
You gotta start ending like So we have to flip this one around.
And I don't, in case if you like to write, you like to write and then cut.
So there's this one,
If you
but we
guys
have to
want to cut
multiply
and then
by
write,
2,
there
yeah.
is a slicer.
Okay, so then we'll have,
Yeah.
so
In the biology, so there's like a microbe room, there's like a biology room.
Wait, and then we have to get a. Wait, do we add these ones? I forget if we don't. We don't add these ones, right?
So we'll just multiply everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Once you have a final answer, raise your hand and I'll come check it for you.
So we just need to check that we have all these.
The delta H for that one.
That is, so that doubles.
7, 8.
I don't wanna do the math. Okay.
7, 8.
And then,
You just do it in your head.
Man, I don't wanna do math in my head, that's next period, dude.
Jamie, so when we're taking this, so we check the finding if we have it too, right?
Yes, because that's
So we find out there and we multiply that by 2, right?
good. Yep.
And then would we put that here? Or would we just acknowledge that it's there?
I would, like, so it's up to you of how well you can keep track of things.
Okay.
Whenever I change an equation, I always rewrite it how I changed it.
Okay. And then would
So
we
they'd
add it on
be-
to anything or no?
So the 2 first off would actually go to everything.
Yep. No, I mean this is just the main equation.
Oh, I see, I see.
But I had it right here.
Alright, now we just have to add it all up. Or
2,
subtract it all up.
2.
And then you would double this, so it'd be
Good, yeah.
negative.
Alright, I'm gonna calculator after this. I'm not-
Yeah, or just make sure you make a note that you're times it by 2. So then what was your question after that?
So we would just acknowledge that it's times 2.
Yes.
We wouldn't add it to anything.
Not yet. So you have to manipulate everything first and then you'll add it together.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you have then focus on like the next part of the equation of, okay, do I have to flip something? Do I have to?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
So then.
Did you answer yet?
Oh, no.
Oh, getting there? Okay.
No, I got it. Math. I'm not doing it out of my head, and I'm going to be.
So, okay.
I'd rather not do that in the head.
It's,
Yeah.
Oh, I like
Are you doing
that.
Those two like across, and then that one's
It's negative.
Answer?
so they're all different.
I don't think that's it.
Oh, do it don't eat.
Oh, where did it come from?
I wrote it down on my
Right. Gabe, have some
Wait, did I get it?
It's 700.
Wait, no, I raised my hand before. I raised my hand before Taylor.
I didn't have a calculator, it doesn't count.
Well, that's not my
Okay,
fault.
so then we need
No.
H2, so we need
Mike, you have to hit that
so I moved it down, so we have the second equation.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the
Are we
delta.
missing a sign?
And so
No, it's positive.
we have
It's
the
positive.
CO2.
Yeah, because this time's down.
Yeah, so that
So,
becomes positive.
I don't understand.
Okay, let's do it. 226. Hey, I was right before you though.
Well, that's because I just have a calculator. It doesn't count.
So we can
work.
do this to get rid of everything.
Did you get it?
Flip all this.
Wait, why did we write this? Oh, so we just did that.
Tell me what changes you Okay, you do. Much.
Okay.
I do need to.
And we put that onto this equation. Wait.
Oh my god.
We know that we have this, right? So we have so now we just need to take this equation, put it backwards, so then we have H2O.
Fix it. Just plug it in.
I love you, SLP.
All right.
How's your table, buddy?
So confused. So confused. All right. Let's try this. All right. So.
We can get on this.
Here.
Hey, you want to get the person next to you? Let's go.
I'll write that in
Give
place.
up the baby does it. It's like- It's gonna be-
Get their answers.
No way, just kidding. I mean,
Yeah, I read it.
Oh, good work. Make sense?
Yeah, it's close enough, it's probably just like more obvious.
Good job. Any questions? Okay. Okay.
I do have a calculator.
So what else can you give it?
Okay, any questions on Hess's law and how that works? So, I apologize for those that missed the memo, but for those that haven't, you can now do homework 6.8 and 6.9, which is Hess's law practice.
Can I resubmit it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely.
Okay.
Wait, what do you?
So I know the due date says it's passed, but I'll know for your guys' class, like, it's fine. It's still open
Well,
anyway.
she's still gonna grade it, and I don't want it to. Wait, what's it?
And he wants to make sure he's doing it right for the test.
Yeah.
Okay? That's really big. Okay, give me your attention here for a second, everybody. And let me kind of explain where to go from here.
Wait, these are.
Okay, so we are done with Unit 6, our short little unit about thermodynamics. Meaning it's now somewhat time to take the test. Now, these are the order in which I would recommend that you get things done. Okay, number one priority on your list, if you haven't yet, is to do the Unit 5 corrections and retakes. Those are closing Tuesday night. Okay, now I do want to just throw it out there that awesome job on the FRQs for Unit 5. First off, there's some really great scores and a lot of really great answers actually in what we did. And a lot of the answers that didn't get points weren't like 100% wrong. A lot of them were just lacking in clarification. We just need to improve the way we justify a little bit. Or some of you forgot to notice that the question even said to justify. Which if you saw that, then you didn't get a point. So that's kind of something to keep in mind is pay attention if it says justify to make sure you justify. With your justification, second thing everyone, just as we're taking the Unit 6 test, okay, make sure you're writing your answers in such a way, don't think that you're writing them to me, okay? You're writing it, because sometimes you write to a teacher knowing they can read between the lines of what you mean. Okay, keep in mind that what you want to portray to the grader is that you understand it. Okay, don't make them, they won't ever assume like, oh yeah, they're pretty close. They are understanding. So don't think it needs to be lengthy when you justify a problem, but some of you just are too simple. Or you're like leaving things off, which I can kind of think maybe where your sentence is going, but you just end your sentence. And in a sense, it's not even a complete sentence. So kind of just something to think of as we do our Unit 6 test. But that would be the first thing I'd work on between now and Tuesday is that Unit 5 corrections and retakes. The second thing I would do, if you haven't, is obviously get all of this stuff for Unit 6 done first. Then take the Unit 6 test. Now, since it's a shorter unit, the multiple choice section for this test on Canvas is only 10 questions, which means you'll be timed for just 15 minutes.
It was like,
I'm sorry. I'm excited.
I mean, it makes sense.
The FRQ, I am keeping the same length. It's still 30 minutes. But just be aware that when you start that multiple choice section, it will go by pretty quick. Okay?
How many questions for the FRQ?
2?
Yeah, but like how many? You know?
Yeah. 20 points for 2 questions? I don't know what it brings. Let me think. So I think question 1 has an A, part 1 and 2, a B, a C, a D. I think question 1 goes to an E.
Oh.
And then question 2 just goes to D.
Oh, just.
Oh, you like two questions?
Only to D.
Only to D?
So that's like
one thing wrong.
10 questions, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd say about that.
And they're all connected, so it's like, there's a whole, normally there's that one that's like, just like 2 seconds.
Yes, yeah, there's a few that are shorter.
Hopefully, who knows?
Yeah.
Are the tests going to be more consistent or less?
So the multiple choice is only gonna go in as 10 points instead of 1 point, yeah. The user response will still be, I think it still scores to 20.
I think it should still go in as 20.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Make each question worth 2?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the more points, the merrier. I think they should all be worth 50.
Yeah, because if we did more.
Oh.
We have retakes, right? So not too much stress.
Yeah.
I mean, your original, I'll ponder that today. I'll let you know before you leave. 15, that's not bad.
Just do
Okay, so let me pass out the FRQ practice and explain how I want you to do this, okay? So what I've gathered here are just a few free response questions from past AP chemistry tests that deal primarily with thermodynamics. Now I did keep some of the other questions that deal with past units, just to force our brains to review a little bit,
Wait, we have,
Oh, man.
what?
okay? What I want though, is the way I want you to do this, everybody, is I want you to, in a sense, the first time you look at the question, is treat it like a test, meaning you don't talk to anyone, you don't use any information, and you just try to answer it as is. So, as a practice, we're gonna do the first question on the first page. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes.
Is this calculator allowed?
No calculator needed, but you are allowed a calculator.
Okay,
You
this
can
is
just play
wondering.
with it.
But it won't really help you.
Good to know.
Okay, ready,
This is stressful.
set.
I don't have time to be stressed.
Nope, it's only 2 minutes. Go. So you're just answering the first question on the first page. Pencils down.
What? Great.
I think that is so bad.
Ah,
Okay,
I
so
was thinking that I understood.
as you go through these other practice problems, the first time around I want you to kind of do it like that. Okay, where you don't use anything but a calculator, formula sheet obviously is okay, periodic table, but like a test. Okay, if by chance, after an amount of time, you're like, I still have no idea, then open up your notes, talk to other people, use whatever other resources you need. Okay, if after that, you still have a blank piece of paper, okay, Let's say you look at your notes, you talk to others, and you're like, I still have no idea. Then you can pull up the answer key I've posted, but what I don't want to see is just a copied answer from the rubric.
That'd be so lame.
Yes, it is. Because in a sense, that doesn't teach you anything about how to actually solve it. So you have one or two options if you leave something blank, and then you just have to go straight to the answer key. Is either reword the justification in your own words so it makes sense to you, or write an answer that explains how it's being solved. Because that's what's going to help your brain learn to solve more problems. Okay, it might sound kind of silly, but it's a very true statement, and the way to get better at solving problems is by solving more problems. Right? So we're just trying to expose you to as many problems as possible to help your brain.
Exposed.
Okay? Find new ways to solve problems. Now, the other thing I want to encourage you to do, and most of you guys are actually really good at this, but if you're ever tempted to just, how should I say it, not try, meaning you look at it and you're like, I don't know what to do, I encourage you just to try something before you look at the answer key. Because you will learn so much more from doing wrong things, and don't take this in ethical terms. It's a really bad
That's why the
sentence.
SpaceX rockets keep blowing up, because they learn more when it blows up than when it lands.
There you go, perfect life example.
They purposely blow it up.
We got another one on spare. But you really do, you'll learn a lot more from doing something wrong than by not doing anything at all. Okay? Okay, take your red pen now, everybody, and you're gonna grade this question.
I know I got it wrong.
So before you upload this assignment, I do want you to go through and grade it. Now I'm not gonna score you on your grade because it's just a practice, but I want you to go through that process because I think it will help us in improving our justification answers by looking at the scoring rubrics and seeing what they're looking for.
Are we gonna do like practice tests for the AP test at the end?
Yes. So our last, we'll finish Unit 9 and take the Unit 9 test right before spring break.
Okay,
And then right after spring break, it's full on review.
okay, cool.
Yeah. And then we'll do like full FRQs.
What even was unit 1?
Was it the geometry, molecular geometry? Oh,
I remember because
yeah, that's right.
I would turn into my 7 years ago to art.
Yeah.
Okay, here is the scoring rubric for this question. So it's 2 points, so put your score out of 2.
Oh,
Okay, you get 1 point earned for the masses and 1 point earned for the test.
Yes! Let's go, wait!
Wait,
I did it right!
That's exactly what I wrote.
Wait,
Give yourself 2 out of 2.
wait, I was writing it though, like, measure out 100 milliliters of distilled water and put it in the polyester cup. Like, I was like,
Massive.
I said,
So,
I put plain.
I just want to difference in wording just for
Temperature
you.
of
What
water,
I
final
need to say
temperature.
is
Oh, I
because they just
forgot
said
final
list
temperature.
the specific
Yeah.
measurements rather than saying like describe how to get them.
that's a good, okay, yeah. I was just
Wait,
like,
so what if you just said that,
blanking
like,
so hard.
what if you just said, like, the temperature would be important to measure?
Taylor,
That's what it told me when I said.
The temperature
Okay,
is
now
higher
you're not
than
going to read that.
It's a good start.
Oh, yeah.
It would be a great idea.
I don't know if they give you points for it.
I said the heat before and after the test. Cause I didn't really say the heat.
Is that like you know what the final
I said like
temperature
finals.
is?
Huh, that's hard. Because I kind of see what you're saying. Because you're kind of saying temperature, but you use the word.
I used heat. Yeah. Well, I said Celsius.
Oh, then I'd say you're good. If you indicated the unit, then I'd say they would give it to you. Evan.
So,
It's in the
it
max
would,
and then
like, I would get marked off if I wrote if I wrote the weight of the urea in grams, because it's mass. And then-
No, I think you'd still get it.
Oh, okay.
I think you would. Because
But,
for our sake, weight and mass are equivalent.
Probably put the math.
What I would take away from here is always use mass in chemistry,
Yeah.
never use weight.
wait,
But I think they would still give it to you.
okay.
Wait, so would mine be wrong because I worded it like instruction wise instead of list wise?
As long as you have all those pieces, you'd be
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, I ran out of time. I didn't get to temperature, but.
But that's all, the only thing is like, the
Yeah.
more detailed you can pay attention to how they wanna answer, it can save you time, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
just like sometimes it doesn't say justified, but you guys will like justify this big long paragraph on the test, and it's like, you didn't need any of that, you just needed to say the number or something like
Okay,
that.
cool.
But you would never get wrong for doing more,
Got
as
one
long as you
out of
don't
two.
contradict yourself.
1 out of 2
I
is
think-
cool.
So is heat wrong if you didn't put temperature? Like if you put heat?
I think so, cause they are different, they're related, but thermometers don't measure heat, they measure temperature. So, yeah, Zach?
So if I said the mass of the sample, but not the mass of the water, is that just like,
I think they count that.
they count that?
Yeah, because urea is the sample. So, yeah, I'd say that's okay. Any other questions? Okay, any other questions on what you're doing with the rest of these FRQ problems? And that you'll try it, attempt it, score it, and then submit it, okay? But your online submission doesn't need to be like 100% perfect. I just want it to be whatever you got, so. Okay, so the rest of today, you can decide to either work on this in class or on your lab, whatever you want to work
We
on.
still need to copy down our lab stuff.
Say what?
Is this like homework?
If you choose to work on the lab, then yes, it just kind of pick and choose where you feel like you'll need help.
But this isn't a sign.
Yes, yes, if you don't do it in class, then you'll do it at home, so. Any other questions
We didn't work on
for now? Now for the lab, it is a lab report that you are turning in. All that means is you're going to type up your answers. So if you already wrote them out, you just have to put them on the document. If you haven't answered the questions yet, then you might want to just grab a laptop and work on the document as you're going. So that way you don't write and then type, but it's up to you. So, okay, the time is yours. I'm here to help as
Also, do you
needed.
even have to write on the lab thing?
Not like the questions.
Okay,
no.
got it.
Yeah, the only thing you'll turn into me is the report, so. Okay, let me know if you need assistance or want me to check anything.